I'm Felicity Harfield and I'm dyslexic. Dyslexia is a disorder that is commonly known but not understood, so I get quite a few questions about how it affects my education. Now before I begin, I should establish that this is based purely on my emotions and experiences and conversations about dyslexia. It's not based on facts or conversations with other dyslexics. You see, dyslexia is a learning disorder. You're diagnosed with it. It's not an excuse for being lazy, and it's not something that can be cured either. It's simply something that you deal with every day. It shows up in different ways for different people, and so I can only speak for myself and how it affects me. For me, it's reading, writing, spelling, grammar, language comprehension, basically anything to do with the English language. And I see the irony, as I am from England. I can clearly read a sentence 5 times, and each time I will read it differently. And unfortunately, none of those times can be correct. I suppose one way of explaining it is that I will clearly read the first few letters of a word, but then my brain makes assumptions, presuming what the word is and filling in the blanks. This isn't something that can be cured by slowing down. It's simply how my brain functions. Another kind of funny thing is I cannot hear letters and know what the word spells. And I can't do that with syllables either, something that those of you who aren't dyslexic probably didn't know you could do. In other words, if someone's trying to spell out a word so a child can't hear it, like ice cream, I can hear the letters I-C-E-C-R-E-A-M, but will have no idea what that spells unless I see it written down in front of me. Then the next question usually is, but I thought just 2 seconds ago you said you can't read words. I can do a single word. That I can read. It's when those words are put into sentences and blocks of text that my brain goes fuzzy. Now the writing part of my brain. That part's rather odd because writing's my passion. It's part of my identity. I am a writer. But the only way I know if my writing is comprehensible is if I read it out loud. I will read something out loud in my room 3 or 4 times, looking like a crazy person to my roommates, before I will hear it. Before I will hear if something makes sense, and even after the 5th or 6th time, I still won't hear how the words I speak don't add up to the ones I've written on paper. So that's a bit of a description about what happens in my brain when I read or write. But that's not what bugs me about being dyslexic. You see, I don't get frustrated by the days where I feel stupid because I can't read. I mean, after all, I go to the University of Michigan, so I must be somewhat intelligent. What bugs me the most are the looks, the opinions, and the advice that I get given when I tell someone I'm dyslexic. Whenever I enter a new homework group, I like to disclose my disability. For the past 12 years since being diagnosed at 7 years old, I've had the same conversations over and over and over again. And it goes a little something like this. Me, just so you guys know, I'm dyslexic. Person number 1, oh yeah, I swear I'm a little bit dyslexic too because I always put a comma in the wrong place when I write, but it's totally nothing, it doesn't really affect me or anything. Me, that's not quite how this works. I mean, I do that too. Person number 2, oh sweetie, don't worry, we'll slow down for you until you understand. Me, thank you, I think, but you really won't have to do that. Person number 3, so I have this friend. Well, I met them one time, but they're dyslexic and they read really, really slowly. Have you ever tried that? Me, that's not how this works. And then there's the best part. Because after claiming that they are a self-diagnosed dyslexic, they ask what dyslexia is and how they too can get the perks of having a disability. Wrong page. So let's take each of these delightful little phrases, shall we? Oh yeah, I swear I'm a little bit dyslexic too. I always mess up. Blank. It changes depending on the person. Let me clarify. If you are dyslexic or had any disability, you would be getting diagnosed. You would be seeking the help that you need because your scores on essays and tests wouldn't come close to the scores you would get on a spoken exam. Your comprehension is brilliant, but your ability to compute that knowledge into written sentences doesn't match up. There's a spectrum of dyslexia, and I am blessed enough to have a mild case of it, but But that does not mean, because you don't know a rule of grammar or you forget a step in a maths problem, that you are, quote, a little bit dyslexic. Person number 2. Oh, it's okay. We'll slow down for you until you understand. Now, not only is this phase patronizing, it's also one of my favorites. So with the 12 years I've spent with my diagnosis, I've learned that I need to put in extra work to stay at the same pace as everyone else. On doing so, I read the project several times over before I enter the homework group. And on doing that, I usually end up explaining part of the project to others. When I'm telling you about my disorder, it's not for my benefit. I will gladly put in that extra time on my own watch to stay at the same pace as everyone else. This is to explain to you that while I comprehend everything that's going on, writing up the report later on won't be something you want me to do. I mean, unless you feel like running a spell check 50 times. Yes, I'm dyslexic, but no, I'm not stupid. I've battled that self-confidence issue for a long time, and I've won. I'm intelligent. I just have setbacks with certain parts of homework. I know what's going on. I just can't write it down. Person number 3. Have you tried slowing down when you write or read? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were a doctor with a focus on learning disorders. It turns out dyslexia is a myth. I haven't been struggling my entire life to read something correctly. I've just been trying to read too quickly. Again, that's not how this works. You see, I do slow down. I read at a snail's pace, trying to stay at the same pace as everyone else. But I still read the majority of the words wrong, because my brain simply doesn't function that way. My brain is different. My brain is complicated and irritating. But more importantly, there's nothing wrong with it. This one part of me struggles, but I'm glad to do that over time to deal with it. I will work hard to stay at the same pace as everyone else, and I need that extra time or the test wouldn't be fair. I can have an intelligent conversation and know details about the topic, but as soon as that test is in front of me and I have to put that knowledge, that facts into written sentences, written words, my brain is not happy. Now I know I sound bitter, and I understand that these comments aren't meant out of spite or to cause me harm, and I admit I've probably made similar comments about topics that I know nothing about. But unless you are dyslexic, unless you have a disability or a doctorate, you should not be making recommendations to me about something I have been dealing with my whole life. I know what works for me, and I know what doesn't, and while I understand that these comments are meant out of kindness, and I appreciate that, because the kindness, the support, it means the world to me, more than you'll ever know. But chances are, whatever you suggest, I've tried it. Because there is no cure. There is no magic pill to help me read better, but there are different ways to aid me in the way that I learn. And I've found what works for me. So just like any disorder, don't go around assuming because you have one friend with it, or have heard about it at all, that you know what will help me. Unless you have a diagnosis, you don't deserve the perks, as you put it, of being in my brain. Because let me tell you, spending hours on an assignment that took the rest of the class 30 minutes, having anxiety at the simple thought of reading something out loud in class, giving in to those negative comments, thinking that you are stupid because you take longer on tests, breaking down in tears because you wrote down an assignment 5 times and each time it didn't add up to the words in your head, or breaking down because you can't understand a reading assignment in a class that you adore. Those are not perks. Those are devastating things that people with learning disorders deal with every day. Every school year, every test, every homework assignment, every day. And to be perfectly honest, dyslexia has caused me so much pain and sadness, and it sucks sometimes. But I can't change it. No one can change their disorder, but it doesn't have to be as bad as the world would like us to think. We can learn from our disabilities, but more importantly, we can learn with them. We can get that grade, we can get that degree, we can get that job, that promotion, and that career that we so desperately want. All of that we can do with our disabilities, no matter the words of those surrounding us. Thank you.